Hey guys, hope you're well. I wanted to go over a quick clip from a video I used in today's whiteboard video for the George Gammon channel because I know maybe some of you won't be able to see it. It's probably going to be a long video, like 30 minutes. And step number 3 is really important. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I don't hear anyone on FinTwit or on YouTube really connecting these dots. And I think it would be wise for you to start really mulling over kind of the ramifications of some things that we were taught by my favorite economist and my favorite thinker, Dr. Thomas Sowell, a long time ago, and what he has been teaching us over the decades. So this particular clip is on welfare and how it condemns, for lack of a better word, specific groups within our society to systemic poverty. And it's not just welfare. It has to do with the minimum wage, has to do with the poor education. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But the factors that we hear in the mainstream media, according to Dr. Thomas Sowell, don't really apply to the poor economic outcomes. Excuse me. Or the economic challenges. I just looked at my whiteboard to use the terminology that I used in today's video, but it doesn't really explain the economic challenges that we see, and that the causes are far different than what we hear in the media. So let's just first and foremost go through this clip, and then I'm going to discuss it as soon as it's over here.
That's kind of a harsh generality, isn't it? Because a lot of people who really are philanthropically minded are in favor of the kind of thing that is generally understood as charitable intercession, isn't it?
Yes, there are people who are professional politicians who simply look at the bottom line of where the votes go. There are other people who sincerely believe that if they will hand out things here and there, that this will in fact benefit people. Again, looking at
your point is it doesn't.
It doesn't. I haven't been able to find. I've been able to find a single country in the world where the policies that are being advocated for blacks in the United States have lifted any people out of poverty. I've seen many examples around the world of people who began in poverty and ended in affluence. Not one of them has followed any pattern at all like what is being advocated for blacks in the United States. Many groups have remained in poverty for a very long time, trying to follow those patterns.
So what he's saying there, guys, is throughout all his decades of research, he's never come, and granted, this was done probably back in the it looks like 80s or probably 1980s. But even then, he had been doing research for decades. And the decades of research that he had done, he had never found a group that was brought out of poverty as a result of welfare, or the welfare state, if you will. The only thing that he had seen is that it keeps groups in poverty. It doesn't propel them out of poverty.
These are permanent indigent classes.
That's right. Within the blacks, there's a very diverse movement, though. On the one hand, you have blacks who are getting more education, who are going to college, and so on. Their incomes are rising, not only absolutely, but relative to that of whites of the same description. It's those blacks who have not had, say, 9 years of schooling, who have not had 6 years of experience in the job market. Their incomes are declining relative to the incomes of whites over the very same span of time. So it can't be a matter of the business cycle or something like that. It's that those blacks who have the advantages relative to others have now still more advantages. But those who had the very difficult poverty to deal with, that is becoming more difficult. A higher percentage of all black income is going to the top 20% of blacks over time.
Well, do I understand you say that the government has exacerbated the plight of these poor blacks?
Yes.
How?
A number of ways. One, they've made it difficult to get jobs, to get started in the job market. Minimum wage law would be one of those things, but only one. The terrible schooling would be a major factor. That if you're going to turn out kids who are 40% functionally illiterate upon graduation from high school, then you're going to have very serious problems in the job market.
And the government is responsible for that?
The government runs the schools. Yes. State as well as federal. They're doing many things to make it much tougher for the person at the bottom to get started. And they're also making it less necessary to get started by having various subsidy programs, food stamps, welfare, and so on, which reduce the difference between working and not working. So that the general tendency of what they're doing is to make it harder to rise. But of course, if you're lucky enough to have started to rise before these programs began, then you're in great shape.
Yeah, so we'll go back to, well, in discussing this, and if you haven't watched any of Thomas Sowell's videos on YouTube, or I'd suggest reading his books or listening to his audio books. It's life-changing. It really is, and I'm not exaggerating. So in fact, I would encourage you that if you're going to take time out of your schedule, read or listen to a couple of Thomas Sowell's books before you watch my videos, because they're way more important than anything that I'll put out on YouTube or that I have the capability of putting out. I mean, his stuff is just next level. And if you think my YouTube videos really make you think, I mean, just try reading a chapter of one of Thomas Sowell's books, and you'll be just amazed at how much it really shapes the way you think and gets you really considering ideas that never occurred to you before, but yet make so much sense and are always backed up with just facts. So what I wanted to really stress in this video, which I did in the whiteboard today, is listen to what Dr. Sowell is saying the cause is or was for the economic challenges faced by this specific group. It's number one, fewer job opportunities. Number two, a poor or bad education. Therefore, what does that mean? That means you don't have any marketable skills in the job world when you're done. And then number three, welfare has created an environment where the incentives are the opposite of what they should be, meaning that the difference, the delta between going out there and getting a job and collecting welfare is so small that there's really no incentive to go out and get a job for a lot of these individuals. Okay, well, what's happening in the entire United States right now? Not just with this specific group, but with all groups, every single American in society. Well, we definitely have fewer jobs and fewer job opportunities. That's what happens when you lock down an entire economy. And that may be right or wrong from a health standpoint, not here to debate that. But the bottom line is it reduces the number of job opportunities, which is why we see unemployment, when you look at the real rates of unemployment, at levels that would rival what we saw in the Great Depression. Okay, well, number two, how about skills? Well, what skills are we learning as a society by not going to work, by not producing goods and services, by being less productive by staying at home? And why are we staying at home? Why aren't we learning these skills that will be marketable in the job place or in the workforce? If there was a workforce that was actually vibrant and functioning right now, it's because the incentive structure that's been created by welfare, or in this case, unemployment benefits, increased unemployment benefits, and Stimmys and stimulus. In the video today, I went over some just startling statistics from the government themselves, from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. And they pointed out that in Q2 of 2020, personal incomes went up by 34%. I think I went over that yesterday in a video. In fact, I did go over it yesterday on a video on this channel. So think about that. So Dr. Sowell is talking about the fact that the difference between getting a job and collecting welfare is so minimal that it reduces the incentive to go out and get a job. Well, what if the amount of welfare you're collecting is significantly higher? It is 70% higher in the case of Massachusetts, or 30% higher overall than going out and getting a job. Think about the incentives that we're creating. So my point is, every single thing that Dr. Sowell outlines, which has, in his opinion and through his research, has been a cause that has led to the economic challenges that this group has faced, is the same policies that have been thrust upon that group and thrust upon many people in the United States now are being thrust on every person in the United States. It's being thrust on society as a whole. So if this specific group faced economic challenges as a result of these policies, shouldn't we expect the entire United States to suffer from the same economic challenges if the exact same policies are now being thrust upon everyone? That's what I really wanted to highlight with this video. That's what I wanted you to encourage you to start thinking about, because I think this is a real problem that has been created especially in the past year, and it's something that we're going to have to grapple with for many years to come.